If you have ever walked out of a cinema because the film was so bad, what one was it? I've never walked out of a movie and I saw Cats opening weekend. I walked out on it, but then decided I wanted to be back inside. They let me back in, but then I walked out again. Oh, I remember vividly. It was Battlefield Earth. The shot angles kept being tilted this way and that for no reason, and I started tilting my head so that things would be level. Then my friend joined in. Then we simultaneously were like, are we going to cramp our necks for this? And walked out. I've only ever walked out of one movie, and that was The Last Airbender, directed by M. Night Shyamalan. As a fan of the original animated series, I was excited to see a live-action adaptation, but the movie was a huge disappointment. The acting was wooden, the script was clunky, and the special effects were underwhelming. I made it about halfway through the movie before I decided that my time was better spent doing something else. It's rare for me to walk out of a movie, but The Last Airbender was just that bad. I guess this technically counts, but when I went to see Deadpool 2, the cinema accidentally put the wrong film on and played some Amy Schumer film instead. Everyone in the screen thought it was some meta Deadpool joke and out of nowhere he'd appear and shoot Amy Schumer, so we were all waiting on that. After about 10 minutes of the film, the staff came into the screen and explained that they had put the wrong film on and couldn't undo it because of their tight schedule, etc., but we would all get a refund and were welcome to stay and watch the rest of the Amy Schumer film. Everyone left. Epic movie. Wasn't epic at all. My parents took me and my sister to see a cool-looking superhero movie when we were kids. That movie was Watchmen. My parents pulled us out after the big blue penis scene. Edit for clarification. Not to say it's a bad movie, it's one of my favorite movies. Emoji Movie. Took my brothers to see it while I was babysitting. Almost committed suicide in the theater. This was showing on a flight I was on and people still walked out. Green Lantern. Even Ryan Reynolds acknowledges how bad it is. He landed his wife, though. It was the price we had to pay for their love. Avatar: The Last Airbender. Once we got to the montages that were all of Season 1, they didn't think were worth it. It was clear this wasn't the show I loved. Way back in the 70s, the movie Freaks, 1932, was re-released due to being banned in America for 40 years. My dad, my brother-in-law and myself went to see it. My dad is a extremely straight-lace, no humor type of guy, and we couldn't figure out why he wanted to see it. It was pretty wild for my dad, but he made it through it. However, the second feature, a horror film called Private Parts, 1972, not Howard Stern's movie, was a bit much for Dad. During a scene where the main character was fucking an inflatable doll full of water and injecting it with blood drawn from a victim, my dad stood up and said in a loud voice, "This is disgusting." And he walked out. My brother-in-law was right behind him. My brother and myself sat there laughing for about another 5 minutes before we got up and left. They were waiting out front for us and Dad says he was only going to wait another minute before leaving and we would have had to walk home. I left Frozen when I was 11 because I was scared LMAO. I've got a story of a film, My Friends, and I refused to leave, actually. In 2006 I was turning 14 and was obsessed with Pirates of the Caribbean. My mom threw a Pirates-themed birthday party where my friends and I were meant to go to see Dead Man's Chest, which was still in theaters in August when the party was. We dressed up for it and everything. Well, for some reason the showing we were going to see was packed despite the movie having been out over a month, so there weren't 12 tickets available. My mother, and my friend's mom who came along, made a split-second decision to see the next PG-13 rated movie available. Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby. So a gaggle of 14-year-old girls dressed as pirates walked into this theater to a bunch of weird looks. But we sat down with our popcorn as normal. The next hour and a halfish saw the moms be horrified at the crass nature of the film and keep asking if we wanted to leave. The answer was a hell no from the whole group. That movie proceeded to be the basis of our inside jokes for the next 4 years. To this day it's one of our collective favorite grade school memories, even if my mother continues to be embarrassed by it. Not the worst movie ever made, but the only movie I ever walked out of was The Butterfly Effect. I wasn't really enjoying it to begin with, but the girl who went with me had been sawed as a child by her father, so when the basement scene came on I looked at her and could tell she was petrified with PTSD. So I said, "This movie sucks, you wanna go?" And I got her out of there. Wow. I want to thank everyone for all the kind words. I'm just a guy who tries to make the conscious effort to do the right thing. I want to clarify though, I did get this movie on DVD to finish it and I don't think it's a terrible movie. Personally, the only part that bothers me is the dog torture scene. Beyond that, I find the premise fascinating and there is some really good acting in the movie. I will just always have a weird feeling about this movie because of this event. Like a song you can never separate from a memory. I almost walked out on Jurassic World Dominion, but my friend bought a ticket for me and was super excited about it, so I stayed just for him. I am a huge dinosaur nerd. I love Jurassic Park and am generally happy to see anything featuring dinosaurs. It doesn't happen often, so I'm not picky. Just give me my big lizards, thank you. But Dominion was on a whole new level of bad. Just why? Jupiter Ascending. You know, it was horrible when I didn't want to see more Mila Kunis. I saw this once when I was ill about 4 years ago, and I always throw the quote of "Did you know bees are attracted to royalty?" every time me and my boyfriend see a bee. One man's walkout, another man's bee movie. Eddie Redmayne and his either inaudible whisper or over-the-top bellowing. My hottest movie take is that he gave a great performance by going full gonzo and actually played the hell out of what a megalomaniacal corporate alien overlord would be like if I imagined it. It is lonely out on this branch by myself. Is this the one with Channing Tatum as a dog who rollerblades through outer space? It's the one where Channing Tatum is a half dog, half angel, half leprechaun who rollerblades through outer space. And somehow this comes off as slightly more embarrassing for the guy than that time he played a gimp slave for Danny McBride. I saw a great quote about this movie. The world building of this movie is like the Burj Khalifa. It's stunning, but utterly empty on the inside. Striptease Burt Reynolds in boxer shorts, a cowboy hat and boots, covered in Vaseline, rubbing himself with dryer lint from Demi Moore's laundry. I do not know how that movie ends, just know that I asked for my money back on a $1 noon matinee. Suicide Squad 2016. The movie had really bad pacing and bland action. About halfway through we were so bored we got up and left. It was one of those movies where you're not really given much reason to care how it ends. Still stands as the only one I've ever walked on. Test screenings don't like the movie but they love the trailer, so let's just hire the trailer company to re-cut the entire movie. Who could have predicted that such a genius move like that could ever backfire? Not only was that movie terrible, but my boyfriend, at the time, broke up with me in the parking lot afterwards. He had found a better girlfriend. I had no idea. To rub even more salt in the wound, the freakin' 21 Pilots song from the movie was everywhere that summer. I saw 28 Days with Sandra Bullock when I was 12 with a few friends. For some reason we thought it was related to 28 Days Later and was about zombies. We were very disappointed. I was made when I found out that Sense and Sensibility wasn't the sequel to Dumb and Dumber. Exactly the comment I would expect a Dumb and Dumber fan to make. Never walked out of a movie. The closest I came to walking out was Mortal Kombat: Annihilation. Man, what a steaming shit pile of a movie. I didn't walk out though. But someone else did. He stood up halfway through the movie, yelled out "This movie fucking sucks," then farted loudly, and left. That man is a king today. A legend that my friends today still remember fondly. It was the fart that cemented his legend. Jack and Jill with Adam Sandler. Normally I like his movies, but not only was Jack and Jill his worst movie ever, I think it might be the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. Hilariously, one time on Survivor they made the reward from a reward challenge getting to see an early screening of Jack and Jill. Reactions varied wildly, and all I could think about was how they were torturing these poor starving people by foisting this Sandler steaming pile of shit on them.